Yes, you can go ahead, Prashant sir. We are live. The program can be started. Hello, Prashant sir. Yes, yes.
लाइव ऑन फेसबुक शुरू हो गया
It is live. It is live. You can go ahead, Prashant sir.
और
It is live. You can go ahead, Prashant sir.
will somebody start or should I go ahead? I was expecting Prashant to start, but apparently he is not online. Okay, let's start. Since he's not starting it, let me begin. As you know, today is the Martydom Day of the first martyr of Indian independence struggle, Kshudiram Bose. And to commemorate that occasion, to remember his and his contemporary revolutionary struggles, we are today having this online meeting on behalf of the 125th birth anniversary committee of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So we are discussing both the life and struggle of Kshudiram as well as of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Today we have very important people among us who will speak. We have Professor Karunanandan, who was a professor of Department of History at the Vivekananda College in Chennai. We have Dr. Shyam Sundar Deepthi, who was the professor emeritus of the Department of Community Medicine in the Government College, Amritsar, Government Medical College, Amritsar. We also have Kshudiram Kumar Dasgupta, who was the president of Unit Trust of India, now retired. So we have such illustrious people among us today to discuss on the life and struggle of both Kshudiram as well as Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. I now request Professor Karunanandan to start. As I said that he was a professor in the Department of History at the Vivekananda College, Chennai, and he has been in the forefront of the struggle to save education, both in his state as well as at the All India level. And he has been very active in the work of this committee, and he is one of the vice presidents of the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose 125th birth anniversary committee. I request Professor Karunanandan to start. Professor Karunanandan?
Okay. Is it audible?
Yes.
Is it audible?
Yes.
Okay. Learned friends, good evening to all. Today, the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose 125th birth anniversary celebration committee organizes this meeting to pay homage to Kshudiram Bose. Of course, I have a little doubt whether he was the first martyr in the, he was the first militant nationalist who sacrificed his life in a struggle against the British. There were others too. Earlier, in Tamil Nadu, for example, there were people who sacrificed their lives knowing very well that there was no scope for victory against the British regiment. Even in 1800, before 1800, there were people who resisted the British and sacrificed their lives. But Kshudiram Bose, of course, he was a martyr in Bengal. To my knowledge, there were two people who lost their lives in this particular incident. Prafulla Chaki, and Kshudiram Bose. They belong to the Abhinav Samiti, Anushīlan Samiti. Their aim was to assassinate Kingsford. Since the Kingsford was transferred to Muzaffarpur, these two people went to Muzaffarpur and threw bomb on his carriage. But unfortunately, it was that carriage belonged to one Kennedy. His wife and daughter were killed in that. And Prafulla Chaki was about to be caught, but he committed suicide. He shot himself dead. And Kshudiram Bose was arrested, tried, and hanged. So, as far as I am concerned, these were the two people who were involved in that particular incident. Of course, they come under the category of the militant nationalist or terrorist who tried to, whose plan was to carry on individual assassinations so as to strike terror in the minds of the British bureaucracy, who either misbehaved with the Indians or ill-treated the Indians, either in the trial or in the prison. Of course, it can be deemed as an act for revenge. At the same time, they also meant to terrorize those people who were not amenable to the demands of the nationalists. But individual assassinations are nothing new. As we appreciate their sacrifice, their commitment, and what you call, they sacrifice life for a larger cause. As history recorded, one may call them emotional, unreasonable, and unrealistic, but nobody can doubt either the depth of their feelings or the sincerity of their faith. So this incident occurred in 1908 when a new form of concept of nationalism was evolved in India. Freedom struggle has different dimensions.
74.
But freedom is the lifeline of the humanity. Once Subhash Chandra Bose remarked, "Forget not that greatest crime is to remain a slave." That is a statement given by Netaji. To remain a slave is the greatest crime. So every individual who has the aspiration to be independent, to be freed from enslavement, or to fight for his freedom. And the same Bose told that nothing comes free. If you get something from others, you must give something in return for it. By which he meant you must be prepared to sacrifice yourself for the sake of a larger interest. But this individual militancy, we know very well that from an understanding of history, we know very well that individual adventurism or individual militancy may not lead to the ultimate emancipation of a nation. A national struggle needs a national awakening. So for that, there were different movements, how to organize the people. You know very well that India lost their freedom not to any planned invasion, not to any foreign government. We lost our independence to trading companies. The trading companies that emanated from the smallest nations in Europe. This was a shameful development in India. No nation can be proud of such a development. So that makes us to go in for introspection. What made us to lose our freedom? What facilitated our enslavement? That introspection needed there. So in this context, I wish to emphasize that freedom has no single dimension. Freedom has multiple dimensions. Political freedom, social freedom, economic freedom, cultural freedom, linguistic freedom, and the freedom has different dimensions. Mere political transfer of power will not end in absolute freedom. Of course, there can be nothing which is perfect and absolute, but substantial freedom requires this multi-dimensional requirement. And most of the early, of course, it is not unnatural, quite natural that most of the early moments were expressions of hatred towards our foreign boss, foreign masters. There were expressions of our hatred, our contempt, our disapproval of the foreign rule. But freedom struggle had the other side of the coin, that is an alternative. Removal of a foreign rule should be followed by an alternative. Pre-colonial India was a monarchical India. There was no India as such. There were hundreds of states, hundreds of rulers. That was not only a monarchical India, that was a feudal India, that was an orthodox India, that was a conservative India. From that stage, from a conservative, feudal, monarchical stage to a democratic, republican stage, the transition can occur only through a freedom struggle. So freedom struggle was expected to lead us from orthodoxy to modernity, from monarchical order to non-monarchical or democratic order, from a conservative economic order to a modern, vibrant economy. Towards this alternative, thoughts and deeds of some people were essential. Of course, those who indulged in acts of terrorism, we don't deride them, we respect their martyrdom. We salute their bravery. We salute their contributions. But for alternatives, we turn our attention to some other figures like
Organizers, please mute everybody other than the speakers. Please continue, sir. Please continue.
Okay. So the transition must take place through this freedom struggle. And with that objective in my mind, I want to analyze certain things and I want to come out with a few ideas. The unification in India was going on through a foreign rule. That unification had stressed on respect to authority, obedience to authority. There was no room for individual freedom. Their will was to be carried out. Our will was secondary, supplementary, or that could be ignored. So from that stage of subservient condition to freedom. In this, the Gandhian era, in our books, textbooks and other things, we find an overemphasis on Gandhian stream. There were several streams in Indian freedom struggle. No doubt, Gandhian stream was a major stream. We accept that. We respect Gandhi. It was a major movement. It was a mass movement. Nobody could doubt that. But there were other streams, other ideas, other alternatives, which were not given due space in our books and in our writings. So some people are ignored, forgotten. Some moments are sidelined. The glory of Gandhi eclipsed some other alternatives. So Netaji was essentially a leftist, a secular man. But today, the right-wing forces tried to usurp his name for a fascist agenda. Netaji had a definite plan. He was insisting on a socialistic agenda. Though he disapproved the communist Russia, he still had respect for socialist agenda. And when he was the president of the Congress, he constituted a planning commission with Pandit Nehru as the chairman. He envisaged a planned economy in India. Today, the planning commission is dismantled and corporate interests prevail. So Netaji's vision of India, independent India, seldom finds a space in our what is called in your media or in our textbooks, academic activities. We need to stress on this. The various alternatives which were suggested by our great leaders like Netaji, who to sacrifice their entire life for the sake of, establishing a self-rule. But alternative that Netaji suggested, the political alternative, was almost similar to that of Sun Yat-sen of China. In gradual stages, 3 stages. First unity, then authority, then democracy, which is almost similar to Dr. Sun Yat-sen's program in China. And then Netaji's economic program was anti-capitalistic program, anti-corporate program. And he was not for the Gandhian way of resorting to the old technology. He was for modernization, modern industries. So he wanted a vibrant, strong India, which could be comparative one. So those ideas need to be discussed in detail now. So in the days when we celebrate the martyrdom of one person, we should also turn our attention to the alternatives that our great leaders prescribed. This Anushīlan Samiti, it is a very small organization of the youth who were prepared to launch an onslaught on the British bureaucracy. That is different. Except Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh was an exception in this case. Bhagat Singh indulged in assassination for a different purpose. He had, his was, a program. He was stood for a complete secular and democratic alternative in India, a socialistic alternative in India. But the Anushīlan committee members did not have such a vision over the economic alternatives. They were for political alternatives. They had no occasion to think of socio-cultural economic alternatives. Netaji had economic alternative in his mind, and he stressed it whenever there was an occasion for it. And the Bhagat Singh had definite plans for a progressive India. So we salute all the martyrs for their bravery. It was not for their self that sacrificed life. They sacrificed life for a larger cause. But behind every terrorist activity, we should also find the ideology that motivated those assassinations, that militancy, the ideology. So it would be better if we associate their ideology with a progressive alternative for India. So, and also I wish to add one more point here. I'm very appreciative of the Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Anniversary Celebration Committee's efforts to bring to light of unknown leaders or neglected leaders through such programs. One more thing I want to stress is that in the history of nationalism and freedom struggle, South is almost neglected, as if South does not exist. In the books which are known as national books, or the books which were used in North India, there is scant reference to the contributions from the South. There were great leaders. There were martyrs from the south. The earliest resistance to the Portuguese happened in Kerala. Dutch were opposed in Tamil Nadu coast. The English were resisted, and many were, hanged, and hundreds were, deported to Indonesia. South also contributed a lot. Unfortunately, our history of our freedom struggle ignore certain regions. I don't say it is deliberately ignored, but we'll have to think that if you want to present an history of the freedom struggle, you should take into consideration the contributions made by different regions of India. It is not one region that led that movement. There were several movements that led to the freedom of India. And that movements included movements for social emancipation too. So I request this committee to consider my suggestion to include social emancipation movements and movements from South.
Sir, it is just muted. Sir, your voice is muted. Please, sir.
Suddenly you have become muted. I don't know why. Yes.
It's okay. Now it is.
Yeah, it is okay, sir. Yes, you can go ahead.
My concluding suggestion is that we want to bring forth the various dimensions of the freedom struggle. It should not be one-sided. It should include every aspect, not only political emancipation movements, social emancipation movements too must be included. And then not only the contributions made by some people in the north or the west or east, there were contributions, substantive contributions from the south too. So such moments, such martyrdoms from other regions too to be highlighted in our programs. For example, V.O. Chidambaram, a pioneer in Indian freedom struggle, who lost everything in providing an economic alternative program. He started the Swadeshi shipping company. He lost everything. He was put to double imprisonment. And he was not allowed even after his release, he was not allowed to practice law. And he had to do petty business to run the life. And he was later neglected, ignored by all, including the congressmen. Such great people were there from the south. So here, I only request our friends to see that those magnificent contributors to the resistance to British rule, and for providing alternatives to the foreign rule, they must be included in our agenda of deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Karunanandan, for your insightful analysis. We'll surely take into account the suggestion that you gave at the end, and I would request the committee to take that suggestion into account in chalking future programs. I'll also thank him for correcting me. Kshudiram was not really the first martyr, but it was his martyrdom that sparked a whole new movement, the one that is known as the uncompromising trend in the Indian freedom struggle. He provided the inspiration to those freedom fighters. We now have Dr. Shyamsundar Deepti. He has a very illustrious career. He did MA in sociology, MSc in applied psychology, and MD in community medicine. And after that, he was professor in the Department of Community Medicine in the Government Medical College, Amritsar, later Professor Emeritus. He has written about 30 books on literature, socio-psychological issues. He is a columnist in the vernacular papers in Punjabi, and he is editor of quarterly magazine Guftgoo in Punjabi. I now request Dr. Shyamsundar Deepti to deliberate on the occasion. Dr. Deepti.
नमस्कार। मैं मेरी बात सुन रहे हैं आप? आवाज आ रही है?
आवाज आ रही है, आवाज आ रही है, ठीक है।
हेलो।
सर अभी म्यूट हो चुका है सर, आपका वॉइस म्यूट हो चुका है।
ओके। इस विचार चर्चा में शामिल फिक्रमंद दोस्तों, जो आज देश की स्थिति हम देख रहे हैं और जिसका थोड़ा सा जिक्र अभी करुणानंदन ने भी किया है, तो नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस के 125वें जन्म दिवस के उपलक्ष्य में आज खुदीराम बोस के 114वें बलिदान दिवस पर आप जो दोस्त यहाँ पर इकट्ठे हुए हैं, मैं पंजाब की धरती से मतलब कि आपको इस पर चर्चा में भाग लेते हुए गर्व महसूस कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि पंजाब की धरती से भी अगर हम कहें तो जहाँ सुभाष चंद्र बोस और खुदीराम बोस जैसे क्रांतिकारी पैदा हुए, और इसके साथ मैं भगत सिंह का नाम तो भी करुणानंदन जी ने भी लिया था, मैं उसके साथ करतार सिंह सराभा और उधम सिंह को भी साथ में जोड़ना चाहता हूँ। मैं इन पांचों मतलब की जो नाम है, जो सुभाष चंद्र बोस, खुदीराम बोस, भगत सिंह, करतार सिंह सराभा या उधम सिंह, ये सभी इनमें कुछ समानताएं हैं। वैसे तो क्रांतिकारी जो सभी इस आजादी के आंदोलन में शामिल हुए, सब में कुछ ना कुछ समानताएं रही हैं, और तो फिर भी अगर हम खुदीराम बोस की बात करें तो उनको हम कहते हैं कि वो सबसे युवा क्रांतिकारी थे जिसको फांसी दी गई 18.5 साल की उम्र में। इसी तरह पंजाब से करतार सिंह सराभा है, जो उनको 19.5 साल की उम्र पर फांसी दी गई, और वो भी सबसे मतलब की छोटी उम्र के युवा थे जिसको इसी तरह भगत सिंह 23 साल पर फांसी लगती है। और उधम सिंह की अगर बात करें तो जब जलियांवाला बाग का कांड हुआ तो वो अमृतसर में थे, और उन्होंने उस सारे नरसंहार को देखकर मन में ठान ली, कसम खाई कि मैं जनरल डायर को मारकर ही मतलब कि अपना मिशन पूरा करूंगा। तब उसकी उम्र 19 वर्ष थी। मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि ये सभी एक ही उम्र के, एक ही जिनके मन में देश के प्रति जो था कि हमने इस देश को आजाद करवाना, और कैसे उनको अंग्रेजों के प्रति जो देख रहे थे कि कैसे जुर्म हो रहे हैं, कैसे हमारे देश की जो व्यवस्था है उसको ऊपर संहार हो रहा है। इसी के साथ जोड़ते हुए सुभाष चंद्र बोस की जब आईसीएस की परीक्षा पास करने के बाद, एक ऐसी परीक्षा जो कि हम कह सकते हैं कि हिंदुस्तान में सबसे ज्यादा प्रशासनिक, सबसे ऊपर की प्रशासनिक परीक्षा थी, उसको पास करने के बाद 1 साल के बाद इस्तीफा दिया, तब भी उनकी उम्र 23-24 साल थी। यानी कि सभी के सभी जो क्रांतिकारी है, इनका अगर हम इतिहास देखें तो ये सभी एक, तो ये एक समानता है कि ये छोटी उम्र के थे। मैं आपको जैसे खुदीराम बोस तो जब फांसी दी गई तो जज ने उससे पूछा था कि उसको शक था कि ये नौजवान है, इतना बच्चा सा लगता है, इसको शायद फांसी का भी ना पता हो। उससे उसने सवाल भी किया कि आपको क्या पता है कि आपको फांसी लगने जा रही है। इसी तरह से करतार सिंह सराभा की जिंदगी में भी ऐसा ही एक तो वाक्य है, मैं आपके साथ तो वो शेयर करना चाहता हूँ कि करतार सिंह सराभा जैसे कि वो 19 साल की उम्र थी, अभी उसके दाढ़ी भी नहीं आई थी, तो उसको भी जज ने देखकर जब पूछा, उसका बयान लिखना चाहा, उसने जो सब कुछ बताया तो वो जज साहब वो चुपचाप बैठा रहा, उसने वो बयान लिखा नहीं। उसको लगा कि जो ये बयान दे रहा है ये एक युवक या ये बच्चा सा लगने वाला युवक जो है, ये इसका बयान नहीं हो सकता, इसको किसी ने पढ़ाया है, इसको किसी ने सिखाया है। और उसने वो बयान नोट नहीं किया। उसको 2 दिन के बाद फिर बुलाया और फिर उसको कहा कि अब तुम बयान दो, और उसको कहा कि आप सोच समझ कर बोलना, अगर तुम सोच समझ कर नहीं बोलोगे तो आपके लिए दिक्कत हो सकती है, परेशानी हो सकती है। तो करतार सिंह सराभा ने हंसते हुए कहा, मुझे पता है, जो मैंने कहा था वो मैंने खुद कहा था, मैं जानता हूँ। वो गदर लहर के, गदर पार्टी के मेंबर थे जो हिंदुस्तान में गदर करने के लिए आए थे। वो अमेरिका में उनकी मेंबरशिप थी, 15 साल की उम्र में उन्होंने मेंबरशिप ली थी। जैसे कि
सर आपका माइक म्यूट हो गया है।
सर आपका माइक
आपका
म्यूट हो चुका है सर।
दीप्ति सर आपका माइक म्यूट हो गया।
सर आपका माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए, अनम्यूट कीजिए, माइक अनम्यूट कीजिए।
आपका माइक म्यूट हो गया है, अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा।
हाँ हो गया है।
हाँ यार, somehow
ठीक है।
yes.
हाँ, तो भगत सिंह ने भी मतलब कि जब उसको फांसी दी जाए तो उसके पिता ने जाकर एक एप्लीकेशन डाली कि इसको मतलब कि रिहा किया जाए, इसका कसूर नहीं है। उसने उसके साथ कुछ प्रूफ लगाए, परंतु भगत सिंह ने अपने पिता को भी यही बात कही कि भी नहीं, कि मतलब कि ना कि आपने ये जो काम किया ये ठीक नहीं किया, ये मेरी मतलब की सोच के बिल्कुल विरुद्ध है। तो वो भी मतलब कि पूरी खुशी इस तरह से अपनी फांसी के लिए वो तैयार थे। मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि इसी तरह मतलब कि जो हमारे ये क्रांतिकारी जो, तो ये है कि छोटी उम्र की बात है। दूसरी जो सबसे बड़ी समानता जिसका थोड़ा सा जिक्र करुणानंदन जी ने भी किया कि वो था भगत सिंह का और सुभाष चंद्र बोस का संपूर्ण आजादी। संपूर्ण आजादी के लिए ये नहीं कि हमने थोड़ी सी टुकड़ों में आजादी लेनी है, क्योंकि हम महात्मा गांधी और नेहरू जो थे आपस में, ये इनको हमने देखते हैं, इनका जो पढ़ते हैं तो वो ये समझौतावादी मतलब की नीतियों पर बात कर रहे थे। वो कुछ ना कुछ समझौता था। सुभाष चंद्र बोस से राजी थे, ना ही हम कहें तो भगत सिंह उसके लिए राजी थे। उनका था संपूर्ण आजादी। भगत सिंह ने संपूर्ण आजादी के बारे में लिखा कि सबके लिए आजादी, मजदूरों, किसानों, कामगारों के लिए आजादी, शोषण रहित आजादी, जिसमें सभी के लिए, सबके सपनों के लिए जगह हो, अपने सपनों से वो, जैसे कि अभी करुणानंदन जी ने लिखी डायमेंशंस ऑफ मतलब की जो बताया कि डायमेंशंस ऑफ फ्रीडम, तो वो सारी डायमेंशंस तो ताकि लोग अपने उनको सपनों का जो स्पेस है वो मिले, वैसी आजादी चाहिए, शोषण रहित आजादी। ये भगत सिंह ने उस वक्त तो मतलब कि ये कहा। और अगर नेताजी की बात करें तो उनका भी यही था कि सोशल स्टेट उनका वो एम था कि एक सोशल स्टेट हो, जैसे कि
सर आपका वॉइस
फिर म्यूट हो गया है,
हेलो,
आपका वॉइस फिर म्यूट हो गया है। हेलो,
मतलब कि आप काम करके देखो, आपको अच्छा लगेगा। पर उन्होंने कहा कि मैं 2 मास्टर्स के साथ मैं बीच में काम नहीं कर सकता। एक तो मेरी मदरलैंड है, मेरी अपने देश है, उसके लिए काम करूंगा मैं, उसके लिए पूरे दिल से काम करूंगा, मैं हाफ हार्टेडली काम नहीं कर सकता। तो उन्होंने उसको मतलब कि ये जो सोशलिस्टिक वर्ड की बात है उसके बारे में कहा कि जो पहले जिसको भगत सिंह ने ज्वाइन किया वो थी हिंदुस्तान रिपब्लिक पार्टी, और जब वो पार्टी एक बार बिखर गई थी और फिर जब दोबारा से उसको रीऑर्गेनाइज किया गया तो उन्होंने उस पर एक एजेंडा सोशलिस्टिक जो था वो ऐड किया, दैट वाज द हिंदुस्तान सोशलिस्टिक रिपब्लिक पार्टी। तो मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि ये जो इन दोनों की विचारधारा, जो हमारे सभी क्रांतिकारियों की विचारधारा जिसका मैं जिक्र कर रहा हूँ, वो अपने करतार सिंह सराबा की बात भी है, वो गदर पार्टी के मेंबर थे और उनका जो झंडा था वो 3 रंग का था, और 3 रंग से पूछा गया भी 3 रंग किस बात का के सूचक है, तो उन्होंने कहा ये है बराबरी, इंसाफ और भाईचारा। ये 3 शब्द उन्होंने कहे कि ये 3 रंग का झंडा हमारा, ये 3 एम है, हमारी आजादी ऐसी हो जिसमें भाईचारा हो, इंसाफ हो और सबके लिए बराबर हो। तो ये यही जो 3 शब्द है जो हमारे संविधान के पहले पृष्ठ पर भी लिखे हुए हैं, और जिसको हम कहते हैं कि अम्बेडकर ने जो उसका संविधान के मेन, चाहे वो 7 मेंबरी कमेटी थी और बाद में उसको जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल असेंबली से भी पास करवाना था, तो उन्होंने भी खुद कहा कि जो मेरे मन में था, उनके मन में बराबरी एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर था कि देश में बराबरी होनी चाहिए, तो हमें अब आजादी मिली है तो हम इस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में इसको सबसे ज्यादा इंश्योर करने की बात करें। तो उन्होंने कहा कि जो मैंने सोचा था वो मैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में रख नहीं पाया, और जो रखा भी था वो लागू नहीं हो पाया। ये अम्बेडकर साहब के ये शब्द हैं, क्योंकि उन्होंने देखा कि अगर वो जो मन में था बराबरी की बात है, तो उन्होंने ये कहा भी अब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंडिया का बन गया है, अब इसके बाद जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में लिखा है इससे मिलता जुलता कुछ भी देश के अंदर और कोई कानून होगा, कोई रीति होगी, कोई रिवाज होगा, वो अब इसके बाद मान्य नहीं होगा। तो वो चाहते थे कि इसको, अगर वो सारा ऐसा होता तो वो उनका कहना था कि बहुत सारे लोग जो हैं वो सड़क पर आ जाते, जिनका मतलब था अमीरों का, जिनको अपनी वो सारी जो सुविधाएं थी वो छोड़नी पड़ती, परंतु ऐसा हुआ नहीं, क्योंकि जो हमने लोकतंत्र जरूर अपनाया, पर उस लोकतंत्र में हमने ये एक बात जो थी एक व्यवस्था जो बनाई वो बिल्कुल लोकतांत्रिक उस तरह से नहीं थी कि सबकी बराबरी वाली। हमने डबल कैपिटलिस्टिक मॉडल भी अपनाया और हमने सोशलिस्टिक मॉडल भी अपनाया, पर धीरे धीरे जो सोशलिस्टिक मॉडल था वो धीरे धीरे हाशिए पर चला गया और कैपिटलिस्टिक मॉडल था वो हावी हो गया। तो इस सारी बैकग्राउंड में अब हम बात करें कि 74 साल हमारी आज़ादी को हो गए हैं और कुछ ही दिन के बाद हमारा राष्ट्रीय स्वतंत्रता दिवस है और हम 75वें साल में प्रवेश करने जा रहे हैं। और जो मौजूदा सरकार है हमारी, हम सुन रहे हैं जैसे कि उन्होंने एक बहुत बड़ा कार्यक्रम जो है पूरा साल चलाने के लिए, जिसको वो अमृत महोत्सव के नाम से मतलब कि मनाना चाह रही है। तो अगर हम 74 साल में और अपने ये इन क्रांतिकारियों के सपनों की बात करें और जो उन्होंने चाहा था, जो उनके मन में था, जिसके लिए उन्होंने ये सारी की सारी क्रांतिकारी मूवमेंट में, आजादी की लड़ाई में अपने आप को कुर्बान किया, बलिदान किया, चाहे हम क्षुदीराम बोस की बात करें और चाहे हम भगत सिंह की बात करें, और इसी तरह से जो हमारे सुभाष चंद्र बोस ने मतलब कि चाहे हमें उनका आखिरी दिनों का बारे में कुछ पूरी तरह से अभी पता नहीं है, परंतु फिर भी जो उन्होंने नेशनल आर्मी बनाई, जो उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ देना पड़ता है, तो उन्होंने कहा कि तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा। ये खून देने की बात हम कई बार अहिंसा से जोड़ते हैं कि वो खून मांग रहे हैं और हमें मतलब कि आजादी से उसके साथ जोड़ा जा रहा है, परंतु उन्होंने साथ ये भी कहा था कि अगर आपने कुछ लेना है तो दुश्मन के सामने आपको ताकतवर लगना चाहिए, उसको सब ताकत अपनी दिखानी चाहिए। तो ये नेशनल इंडियन आर्मी थी जो वो उस तरह से एक प्रभाव देने की कोशिश की कि जिससे जो अंग्रेज है उनको पता लगे कि हमारे जो भारतीय हैं उनके पास किस तरह की ताकत है और वो क्या चाहते हैं। ये बात है, आजादी हासिल करने की बात नहीं है। 74 साल के बाद कोई 80-85 साल का बुजुर्ग यहाँ पर हो, मैंने कईयों से ये बात सुनी है कि इससे तो अंग्रेज अच्छे थे। अगर ये एक भावना मतलब कि आज भी किसी में आती है, वो आज का ये आजाद भारत देख रहा है और फिर उसको अंग्रेजों से ये कह रहा है कि अंग्रेजों का राज बेहतर था। अगर वो ना भी कहे, आजाद भारत में पैदा हुए नौजवान भी अगर वो कहे कि हम आजाद भारत में रहे हैं और वो ये दो सवाल उठाएं, क्या ये आजादी है, क्या ऐसी आजादी होती है, तो ये अपने आप में ये सवाल भी अपने चिंता का विषय है और हमें सोचने के लिए मजबूर करते हैं। भगत सिंह ने कहा था कि हमें ऐसी आजादी नहीं चाहिए जिसमें सिर्फ कुर्सियों का तबादला हो, जिसमें लॉर्ड इरविंग की जगह पर हमारे बैठ जाए, ऐसी आजादी नहीं चाहिए। गोरों से कालों को बिठाने वाली तो ये आजादी वो आजादी नहीं है जिसे हम चाहते हैं। हमारी अपनी, जिसको अभी करुणानंदन जी बड़ी अच्छा कि हमने कोई अल्टरनेटिव जो चाहिए था, हमने अगर हम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की बात भी करें तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में भी हमने कई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, ये ठीक बात है कि हमने दुनिया के कई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन उनमें लिए, जैसा कि अम्बेडकर बताते हैं उन्होंने कई कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पढ़े, अमेरिका का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पढ़ा, यूरोप का पढ़ा, हमारा ब्रिटिश जो चल रहा था वो तो था ही हमारे पास, उसमें से कम 50% हमने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वो ब्रिटिश वाला कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन था उसको हमने अपनाया और बाकी कुछ और चीजें उस पर ऐड की। पर हमने जमीनी हकीकत से, हमारे अपने देश की अपनी हकीकत से जोड़कर उन्होंने कहा कि वो पूरी मंशा के साथ वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वो नहीं बन पाया, इसलिए चाहे वो ही है कि वो बहुत फ्लेक्सिबल भी है, उसको उसमें बहुत कुछ ऐड किया जा सकता है, उसे तोड़ा मरोड़ा जा सकता है, और जिसका हम देख रहे हैं हशर आज हमारे सामने है कि हमारी जो मौजूदा जो सरकार है, वैसे तो अगर कहें कि 74 साल में हम देखिए लोगों की जो हालत है, जिस तरीके से हमने आज़ादी चाही थी वो 74 साल से ही हमने उसको धीरे धीरे और पर पिछले 7 साल से तो बिल्कुल हम साफ स्पष्ट तौर पर देख सकते हैं कि हम किस तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं। और ये जो हमने लोकतंत्र बनाया था, अगर मैं कहूँ कि लोकतंत्र है, वोटें हम डालती हैं, परंतु ये कारपोरेट टाइप का लोकतंत्र है, क्योंकि अब सारा कुछ कारपोरेट के हाथों में है। अगर वोटें भी खरीदते हैं तो उनको जो अपने नेताओं को खड़े भी वही करती हैं और खड़े होने के बाद पैसा भी उन्हें देती हैं। करोड़ों रुपया जो रैलियों में खर्च होता है वो कहाँ से आता है? तो वो कारपोरेट है, वो हमारी डेमोक्रेसी को मैनेज कर रहा है। तो वह कारपोरेटाइजेशन ऑफ दी हमारी डेमोक्रेसी का जो हुआ है, ये सपना नहीं था हमारे नेताओं का। तो अगर हम इसको एक और पहलू से भी देखें तो अंग्रेज जो यहाँ आए थे तो वो यहाँ पर सही मायने में वो राज करने के सोच कर नहीं आए थे, व्यापारी थे, वो एक कंपनी थी, वो व्यापार करने आए थे। तो व्यापारी की तो मंशा साफ तौर पर होता है कि उसमें फायदा कमाना है, प्रॉफिट उसका मोटिव रहता है किसी भी व्यापारी का। तो अगर हम देखें तो मुझे ये इस आपने जो आज किसानी आंदोलन चल रहा है तो उसको देखते हुए 1907 का भी वो समय याद आता है जब भगत सिंह के चाचा सरदार अजीत सिंह ने पगड़ी संभाल जट्टा की मूवमेंट चलाई थी। और उसके पीछे भी कारण यही था कि वो अपनी मर्जी से जमीन पर जो चाहते थे वो उगाते थे, और जो अगर कोई अपनी मर्जी से उगाता था तो वो उसको सजा देते थे और उसको उसका वो भाव भी नहीं देते थे। बंगाल में नील की खेती सभी जानती हैं, और उसके बाद किसानों का क्या हाल हुआ। तो अगर देखें तो बिल्कुल वही मॉडल आज 1907 वाला हमारे सामने जो कारपोरेट को हम देने जा रहे हैं अपना थ्रू जैसे कृषि कानूनों के माध्यम से, तो ये बिल्कुल वही है। तो ये कारपोरेटाइजेशन मतलब की है, ये लोकतंत्र नहीं है। ठीक है कि हम वोटों से संसद में लोगों को भेजते हैं, एक तरफ संसद है, एक तरफ हमारे लोग हैं, और जब वोटें पड़ जाती हैं, जो संसद में पहुंच जाती है, तो एक इतनी बड़ी दीवार खड़ी हो जाती है। हमें लगता नहीं कि ये वही लोग हैं जो हमारे बीच में से गए हैं, और वो फिर 5 साल तक एक ऐसे मतलब कि हमारे सामने एक इतनी बड़ी दीवार खड़ी कर देती हैं जैसे हमें वो पहचानते ना हो, और हम भी उनको नहीं पहचानते कि वही हैं जो संसद में इस तरह से बैठकर बोल रहे हैं। तो मैं कह रहा था कि तो वो जो हमारे अंग्रेजों ने यहाँ पर आकर एक तो ये मॉडल दिया, ये अपना प्रॉफिट वाला, और धीरे धीरे उन्होंने जब देश पर राज किया तो उन्होंने हम कहते हैं कि हमें साइंस से उन्होंने जुड़ा, मॉडर्नाइजेशन से जुड़ा, पर मॉडर्नाइजेशन से जोड़ते हुए जो मॉडर्न का असली कॉन्सेप्ट था वो हम उनसे लेना भूल गए, या उन्होंने भी नहीं दिया। हम मतलब कि हीन भावना के शिकार उन्होंने हमको किया। हमारी पढ़ाई को उन्होंने मतलब कि कहा, हमारे रहने सहने को, हमारी जो अच्छी आदतें थी उनको भी उन्होंने भी अटैक किया। अगर देखो तो हमारे शुरू में जो आजादी के बाद कुछ साल तक जो गीत आए फिल्में आई, और वो गीत हम अभी 15 अगस्त तो 26 जनवरी को, और एक गीत की एक लाइन है जो हमारी देश की संस्कृति को, जो हमारे सभ्याचार को करती है कि मेहमान जो हमारा होता है वो जान से प्यारा होता है, ज्यादा की नहीं लालच हमको, थोड़े में गुजारा होता है। तो ये जो एक विचारधारा थी, ये जो हमारा आपस में मिलने जुलने का जो फैब्रिक था, वो जो हमारा आपस में जुड़ाव था, उसको तोड़ा है ये कारपोरेटाइजेशन है। उससे पहले जब हम कहेंगे पूंजीवाद ने जो हमारे सिस्टम में लाया है, हमें सुकेड़ कर रख दिया है अपने निज में, हमारे मतलब कि हमें व्यक्तिगत बना दिया है सभी को, किसी का दुख समझने की सोचने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो आपका कुछ नहीं लगता। और इस तरह से जो हम एक माहौल देख रहे हैं अंडर कारपोरेटाइजेशन की कैपिटलिस्ट सिस्टम के अंडर, तो हम ये अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं कि कैसे मतलब कि एक तो वो हीन भावना थी जो उन्होंने मतलब कि हमें दी, और जो डिवाइड एंड रूल वाला जो एस्पेक्ट था उसको भी हमने उसी तरह बढ़ा कर रखा हुआ है। अगर ये बात नहीं है कि पिछले 7 साल से, परंतु पीछे भी अगर जाएंगे तब भी किसी भी सरकार में इसको मतलब कि चाहे किसी भी लेवल पर रखा हो, वो रखा है। आज वो बिल्कुल साफ नजर आता है हिंदू मुसलमान में, सिख और हिंदू में, और हरियाणा और पंजाब में, और इसी तरह से और स्टेट्स में आपस में अगर बात करें तो ये सारा मॉडल जो है हमें देखने को मिलता है। और अगर हम ये एक मॉडल बना कर रखना चाहते हैं, बना कर रखते हैं, तो सत्ता के पास एक ही चीज होती है कि सबको चुप करवाया जाए, सबको डरा कर रखा जाए। और हम देखते हैं कि यूएपीए जैसे और पीएसए जैसे जो कानून है, वो अगर हम कहें तो रोल्ट एक्ट से भी सख्त है। हमने रोल्ट एक्ट के को भी 1900 ये उन्हीं दिनों की बात है जब जलियांवाला बाग का कांड हुआ 1912-13 में ये एक्ट बनता है, और उसके खिलाफ आंदोलन हुआ, और एक जलियांवाले बाग जैसा कांड इस रोल्ट एक्ट के उनको विरोध करते हुए हुआ। तो जो भी वहां पर लोग बैठे हुए थे सभी रोल्ट एक्ट के विरोध में बैठे हुए थे। वो रैली हुई थी, उस रैली पर जब जनरल अडवायर ने कहने पर जनरल डायर ने गोलियां चलाई। तो जलियांवाले बाग जैसा कांड हमने देखा एक रोल्ट एक्ट का विरोध करते हुए। और अब आप देख सकते हैं कि यूएपीए जैसा जो कानून है और उसके अंतर्गत हम देख सकते हैं कि कैसे जो भी कोई आवाज उठाता है, जो भी उसके विरोध में बोलता है, तो चाहे आप लिखते हो, चाहे आप सोशल मीडिया पे भी बात करते हो, तो भी आपके ऊपर नजर रखी जाती है। और अभी हम जो लेटेस्ट जो पेगासिस का जो देखा है हमने कि उसपे कैसे देश के लोगों को, देश के जो मुतबर लोग हैं, जहाँ तक कि जज तक हैं, जिनको भी वो लगता है कि ये हमारे थोड़े से विरोध में है, उनके ऊपर जासूसी की जा रही है। तो उसके ऊपर जो वो इतना बड़ा, मतलब कि वो कहता है कि इतना वो कॉस्टली अफेयर है, इसमें हमारे देश का जो, हमारे लोगों का जो पैसा, टैक्स का पैसा है, वो लगाया जा रहा है। यानी कि ये एक दृश्य है जिसे आज हम देख रहे हैं। और इस दृश्य के में मतलब कि अगर हम खेती कानूनों की बात करें, एक मतलब की एस्पेक्ट से ही हम बात को समझ सकते हैं कि कैसे धीरे धीरे जो देश की जो नीतियां हैं वो केंद्र अपने हाथ में लेना चाह रहा है। और जैसे कि हम उनकी मंशा भी समझ सकते हैं कि देश का, कि एक संविधान, एक देश, एक भाषा, एक राशन कार्ड और एक कानून, सब ये जो एक एक का वाला नारा है, वो इसी का है कि केंद्र जो है वो अपने पास सारी ताकतें रख ले। और चाहे वो नजर नहीं आ रहा, परंतु वो प्रेसिडेंशियल टाइप ऑफ जो चाहते हैं, उनका मानना है प्रेसिडेंशियल टाइप ऑफ कंट्री, यहाँ पर उनके पास जो उनको नजर आती है कि जो 80% आबादी की है, उसके सहारे वो एक प्रेसिडेंशियल सीट जीत जाएंगे। और फिर जैसे हम बाकी कंट्रीज में देख रहे हैं, चाइना और उसमें, कि फिर कुछ सोचते हैं कि हम इसको 50-100 साल तक अपने पास बनाए रखेंगे। तो ये जो दृश्य है, ये बहुत परेशान करने वाला है। तो जैसे हम अभी मैंने बात की थी कि हम सभी वो लोग हैं जो सामाजिक सरोकार हैं हमारे देश के, उसकी फिक्रमंदी के लिए जुट बैठे हैं। और हमें अब एक मौका मिला है। वैसे तो सुभाष चंद्र बोस है, या भगत सिंह है, या खुदीराम बोस है, इन लोगों को याद करने के लिए 125 या 150 ये इस तरह के का इंतजार नहीं करना चाहिए। ये तो वो लोग हैं जिन्हें हमें हमेशा याद करने की जरूरत है, खास तौर पर जब देश के हालात ऐसे हों और जब हमारे पास इन सब क्रांतिकारियों का एक सपना हमारे सामने हो, और किस तरह से उन्होंने सारा ये क्रांतिकारी का समय ये झेला है, उस के चलते हुए हमारे पास ये सारा ये एक है। हमें इनको लगातार, तो अच्छी बात है कि हमने 125वें साल को, इस साल को पूरा साल सुभाष चंद्र बोस के बहाने से उनको भी याद करेंगे। खुदीराम बोस को है, करुणानंदन जी ने भी कहा, जैसे साउथ में भी बहुत ऐसे हैं। हमें ऐसे ही हर एक स्टेट से हीरो और को पहचान कर, मैंने भी अपनी तरफ से प्रताप सिंह सराबा का नाम लोग जानते हुए, उधम सिंह का नाम भी जानते हुए, और भी ऐसे जो है हीरोज जिनको बहुत लोग जानते नहीं है। हम भगत सिंह को याद करते हैं, सुखदेव और राजगुरु को उसके साथ भी जानते हैं, परंतु उनको अलग से भी उनकी जो भूमिका है उनको समझने और उभारने की जरूरत है। इसका वो ये भी फायदा है, होता रहता है कि हम बहुत सारे लोगों को अपने साथ जोड़ सकेंगे, और इस जो हमारा मंतव्य है उसको हम पा सकेंगे। तो आखिर में मैं आज के जो दृश्य है उसको 4 लाइनों में, एक काव्य टुकड़ी है उसमें आपको समेटने की कोशिश करता हूँ। सियासत को समझा था सेवा, सियासत को समझा था सेवा, सियासत साजिश हो गई, सियासत को समझा था सेवा, सियासत साजिश हो गई, अपनापन चाहा था देश से, अपनापन चाहा था देश से, सच कहूं अपनी हस्ती ही इसमें खो गई, अपनी हस्ती ही इसमें खो गई। तो आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और बाकी जो श्रोता वो बात करेंगे, उनसे भी हम मिलकर इसको आगे चलाएंगे। यह इस तरह का ये सिलसिला है, ये विचार चर्चा का, ये लगातार चर्चा रहेगा। आप सबका एक बार फिर से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Professor Shyam Sundar Dipti, for your analysis of the Indian freedom struggle. And as both the speakers have appealed to us, the Netaji 125th Birth Anniversary Celebration Committee will surely take into account the contributions of the other martyrs, other revolutionaries, and from all parts of the country. Now there is a welcome change. There will be a song presented by Pratyusha Chaudhary. The song is dedicated to the Martydom Kshudiram Bose. Pratyusha Chaudhary.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Pratyusha, you start.
Yes. এবার বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি, এবার বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি, হাসি হাসি করব হাসি দেখতে ভারতবাসী, আমি হাসি হাসি করব হাসি দেখবে জগৎবাসী, বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি, বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি। কলের বোমা তৈরি করে বসেছিলাম লাইনের ধারে মা গো, কলের বোমা তৈরি করে বসেছিলাম লাইনের ধারে মা গো, লাট মৌলানা বিফল হলো হলো ভারতবাসী, ও মা লাট মৌলানা বিফল হলো হলো ভারতবাসী, বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি। হাতে যদি থাকতো ছোড়া তোর খুদি কি পড়তো ধরা মা গো, হাতে যদি থাকতো ছোড়া তোর খুদি কি পড়তো ধরা মা গো, রক্ত মাংস এক করিতাম ইংল্যান্ডবাসী, আমি
You have been muted. You have been muted.
Pratyusha, you have been muted.
You are muted. We cannot hear you. Pratyusha, you need to unmute yourself.
Administrator can unmute her.
You need to unmute yourself. We cannot hear you. No, she cannot hear us.
গ্রামের পাশে 10 মাস 10 দিন পরে জন্ম নেব মাসির ঘরে মা গো, চিনতে যদি না পারো মা দেখবে গলায় ফাঁসি, আমায় চিনতে যদি না পারো মা দেখবে গলায় ফাঁসি, বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি, বিদায় দাও মা ঘুরে আসি, বিদায় দাও মা। নমস্কার।
Thank you, Pratyusha. This was a Bengali song dedicated to the martyrdom of Kshudiram Bose. It is a very famous song that has played a very important role in the Indian freedom struggle. I will now invite Mr. Sudipto Kumar Dasgupta to speak. He was former president of the Unit Trust of India. His academic qualifications are also quite extraordinary. He did MSc in Organic Chemistry from Kolkata University, and then he studied Advanced Management Program and International Senior Management Program from Harvard Business School in USA. Then he did Diploma in Business Management in Xavier Institute of Management, Mumbai, and Diploma in Personnel Management from National Training Laboratory, Virginia, USA. And then he has been visiting faculty of various universities and institutes in this country as well as abroad. And of course, he was the president of Unit Trust of India. He has been in the forefront of various struggles of the people, especially in defending education and in commemorating the freedom fighters. I will now request Kshudiram Kumar Dasgupta to speak on this occasion. Mr. Dasgupta. You need to unmute yourself. Yes.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I am sorry. I am a late entrant to this meeting because of some technical problem, and I am not very savvy, tech savvy, so I couldn't solve it myself. I had to take help of somebody who stays very nearby, and so I missed what my former speakers have spoken in this particular meeting. If I could hear them, then it would have been a very educative experience for me. In any case, let me start from a premises as to why this Netaji 125th birth anniversary committee is observing the Martydom Day of Kshudiram Bose. Because Kshudiram Bose, in the Indian history of freedom movement, occupies a very, very significant position. Not because he belonged to a particular province or whatever, but because of his bravery, courage, and an extraordinary character full of determination, full of courage, and he never thought of self. He only thought of his country. And that too at a very, very tender age. You know, he was born in 1888, most probably on 3rd December, in a district place known as Midnapur, which is 60 to 70 kilometers away from the Kolkata city. He lost his father at a very early age, and then he was reared by his elder sister, who was married and was staying somewhere else. So he was given to her sister for being groomed up. From a very tender age, I should say, childhood age, he was very agitated to see the way the foreign rulers were treating the Indians. They were bringing down attacks on Indians. They were depriving the Indians of so many otherwise available benefits and honor. Most important thing was honor. He was very enraged at the way the honor of the Indian people, the dignity of the Indian people were not given by the British rulers. And the British rulers were very cruel. They used to torture them and all these things. Before I go further, let me touch up touch upon another thing. You see, because of a definite socio-historic reason, the freedom movement of our country was divided into two trends. One was a compromising trend who wanted to have freedom from the Britishers, but through compromise, through appeasement mode, and all these things. I won't use any other word, compromising. They also wanted, most of them all wanted that India should be a free country. But their way of achieving freedom was through compromise, non-violence, as Gandhiji had pitched, and all these things. On the other hand, there was another trend, which was uncompromising in nature. They were called revolutionaries. The British imperials called them terrorists, but our countrymen called them revolutionaries. They were death-defying people. They didn't mind to embrace the gallows. They didn't mind to be shot dead if necessary. They were totally committed to the cause of the country. They also wanted freedom of the country, but through non-compromising mode, through revolutionary mode. And they did not believe in non-violence. They said if they are indulging in violence against us, we have every right to retaliate with violence. We can't just accept violence by tolerating it, by accepting all the kind of tortures that they are meting out to us. Now, when Kshudiram was born, and when he was growing up at the fag end of the 19th century, Indian freedom movement was just crystallizing. It was in its what you call primitive stage, incipient stage. Okay, just growing. Call of Vivekananda and others in other provinces, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Gokhale Sahab and others, they were just building up a freedom movement. The art for freedom was sprouting, so to say. And that was the time Kshudiram was born. So if somebody thinks that Kshudiram should have this kind of political consciousness or that type of understanding, okay, he should have been more restrained in his approach. All these things I've seen in the papers, seen in the book, somebody criticized. Somebody said he was indulging in romanticism, in adventurism. He was immature. Others forced him to do all these things. But that is not true. If you read the life of Kshudiram, you will find right from day one, he was having an uncompromising mood insofar as British emperors were concerned. He knew that you cannot get freedom by begging. Tit for tat, that was the thing. So when he was a child, he was, there are some stories which will tell you that how, what was the character? In Bengal, they used to call him child of fire. Indeed, he was a child of fire. But when he was, I think, 10 or 11 years old, at that time, the place where he stayed, the revolutionaries, the leaders, they used to come to that place in Midnapur district, which is in West Bengal, adjacent to Kolkata, 70 to 80 kilometers away from Kolkata. And he used to observe them. And they used to distribute leaflets. They were trying to form a group in that district, revolutionary group and all these things. So he was very much, he had an attraction for these people. So one day, a revolutionary leader, Hemchandra Kanungo, was coming on a bicycle, to hit the village Kshudiram was living. Suddenly, he came in front of Hemchandra and asked him, stop. Told him, stop. Hemchandra got down from the cycle. He said, give me a revolver. Hemchandra asked why. He said, I will kill the Sahibs, means the Britishers. The boy of 11, he was so charged. He said, I will kill the Britishers. Give me a rifle. Hemchandra was taken aback. He has himself written this particular incident. That was Kshudiram. When he was in school, you see, he was one day, some of his friends say, let us do boxing on a very hard wooden table. They said, okay, let us see how much our fists are powerful. So everybody started boxing on the wooden table. Nobody could go more than 7 or 8 blows because they were having pain in their fists. Kshudiram went up to 28. He was bleeding, profusely bleeding. But he was smiling. Somebody asked him, are you not feeling pain? He said, no. I must prepare myself to face the British rulers. They must be removed, must be asked to go away from our country. I'm saying these are small incidents, but this speaks of the character of that particular boy. Another incident, there was an agricultural fair going on in that particular town. And all big British rulers, administrators were there. The revolutionaries wanted to distribute one leaflet called Bande Mataram. They gave it to Kshudiram because by that time Kshudiram became a very boy whom they could rely upon. Hemchandra Kanungo and others, they could understand that this boy has mettle. This boy is capable of doing something which others can't do. He is of a different genre. So they gave Kshudiram to distribute leaflets in that particular meeting, fair. It was an agricultural fair meeting. Kshudiram was doing it very silently. He was hardly 13 or 14 at the time. Nobody could make out that he was distributing leaflets, not even the British rulers. But then when the one leaflet went to one of his teachers of the school, he could make out what it is. And that fellow was so nervous, so frightened, that he informed the police that this lad is distributing this kind of leaflets. So police caught him, but he gave the police a big blow. Then 3-4 policemen came. He gave blows to everybody. Everybody was scattered. They were afraid of going near him. But still, ultimately they forced on him and arrested him. At that time, there was another Satyendranath Basu, who was also a revolutionary. And actually, Satyendranath was the mentor of Kshudiram. Satyendranath was present there. So he had his presence of mind. He immediately shouted and told the policeman, see, you are arresting a deputy magistrate's son. Police was taken aback. Oh, deputy magistrate's son. They never knew who was that lad was. So they released him, and Kshudiram went away. But he had the courage to distribute that leaflet in that particular meeting, and that he did so beautifully. Had not his teacher come out and told the police, nobody could understand that he was doing that. Such was his character. He was he used to feel very sad when he saw that countrymen were suffering from so many diseases, natural calamities, and all these things. There was a flood once, about 15 to 20 kilometers away from where he used to stay. He rushed there and gave relief, a boy of 13 or 14 or 15. There was an epidemic, cholera epidemic. So he rushed and did whatever he could for the patients, for those who were suffering from cholera. It was a very dead, cholera was a very contagious disease,
Once,
infectious disease.
kilometers away from where he used to stay. He rushed there.
Sridhar, your voice is mute. Please unmute.
You have become muted. Can you just unmute yourself? You have become muted. Can you unmute yourself? You have to unmute yourself. Yes. Yes.
How could he get unmuted? I don't know. Sorry. Somebody was suffering from chicken pox. That also was a very infectious disease, but he didn't mind. He went there and he did all the nursing. That was his nature. He was once arrested for a particular offense according to the British rulers. He was produced before in the court. But the police could not gather enough evidence to convict him. Still, police had a doubt that he was, that was also a case of leaflet distributing. They asked him, please tell us, who gave you those leaflets? Because they found that he's a small child, early teenager. He would not have that much of audacity to distribute leaflets. So the police asked him, please tell us, who has given you these leaflets? The leaflets were given by his mentor, Satyendranath Basu. He was present in that court. Then Kshudiram looked at him and then told very coldly and calmly. They asked him, is he there in this court? He said, no. But Satyendranath was present in that. That was the presence of mind that he had. That was the kind of commitment he had to his country. So, the revolutionaries of those days ultimately decided to give him a task which could not have otherwise been borne by anybody else. He was a very, what I should say, very desperate fellow. He knew what to do. Once you tell him something that he is convinced, he will do it. At that time in Kolkata, at that time it was called Calcutta, the presidency magistrate of Calcutta was Kingsford. He was a very notorious judge. He convicted many revolutionaries, including Aurobindo Ghosh and others. So the revolutionaries decided that this man should be killed, assassinated. British government also sensed it, that Kingsford is the target of the revolutionaries. So they shifted him, transferred him to Muzaffarpur in Bihar. The revolutionaries decided that they will assassinate him in Muzaffarpur only. And that task was assigned to 19-year-old Kshudiram, not 19, 18 plus, and one of his other associate, Prafulla Jati. Both of them took pseudonyms, different names, and they went to that place quietly and they started observing the movement of Kingsford. See, in those days, they were from Kolkata, they went there, Muzaffarpur, which is 500-600 kilometers away, then a different place, language is different there. Still, they dared to go there and they observed Kingsford movement. Kingsford used to use one horse-driven carriage, special carriage those days. So they found that Kingsford was using that particular carriage every day. One day they were hiding in a nearby place, and once the carriage came, they heard a bomb there. Nobody heard that much sound of a bomb in Muzaffarpur. So there was a commotion, but unfortunately, Kingsford was not in that carriage. There was a couple, Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy, who were there. They were killed. So Kshudiram tried to flee from that place. So Prafullo Chaki went in one direction, Kshudiram went in another direction. He would not have evaded arrest. He was running along the railway track. There he came somewhere just for taking some rest and for having a glass of water. But seeing his face, his dress, and he was barefooted. He had no sandal on his. He was not putting up any saddle. Two policemen were there in IBs. They could detect because they came to know that somebody has thrown the bombs. And that is how he was taken into captivity. Otherwise, they could have evaded arrest. So when he was taken into captivity, there was a trial as usual, and he was sentenced to be hanged to death. When the sentence was pronounced, he was smiling, laughing, so to say, not smiling, laughing. So the judge thought that he has not understood what sentence has been pronounced. So he asked him, would you realize what punishment is being meted out to you? He said, yes. Then why you are laughing? Well, nothing. There is nothing. It's a glory for me to sacrifice my life. What I have done, I have said, I have admitted. Yes, I have done it. So that was the kind of character Kshudiram was. The whole nation was stirred by this. Not only Bengal, but adjacent areas, even Punjab and all places. You know, when he was being taken to be hanged in the gallows, he took his bath in the morning, combed his hair, and then went to the gallows smilingly, happily. Just before being hanged, he was asking the fellow who was hanging him, why do you apply wax on the rope? Is it because that there will be less pain on the neck? My neck is very stiff. These were his last words. So that's why the song that you have heard just now, it was in Bengali, but it said that I will embrace gallows smilingly. The whole India will look at it. You see, that was the song, Bengali song that you have just heard. This was the character of Kshudiram Bose. He was the first martyr to embrace gallows, and that at the so tender age. So this sacrifice, this hanging of Kshudiram in 1908, you see in Bengal in 1905 there was a movement against Lord Curzon's policy of dividing Bengal, because the eastern side of Bengal was dominated by Muslims and the western side of Bengal was dominated by Hindus. So they wanted to bifurcate it. And the whole undivided Bengal rose against it. And other parts of India, those who are awakened people, those who are right-thinking people, those who are democratic people, those who are patriotic people, they also opposed. Rabindranath Tagore wrote a song. So there was a turmoil going on in Bengal. Ultimately, this division was stopped. They could thwart this decision. So just after 1905, 1906, Kshudiram's martyrdom was in 1908, 11th August 1908. This marked the augury of a new situation in India, Indian freedom struggle. So this news spread. At that time, Subhash Chandra Bose was a school student in Ravenshaw Collegiate School in Cuttack. His father was a very well-known lawyer. Subhash Chandra Bose was also a very, so to say, a teenager, just in his early teens. He heard it, the news, and he discussed this with some of his friends. And then he decided to observe the martyrdom day of Kshudiram in the school. This is the connection. You see, one lad sacrificed his life. That became emblematic. That became something which all people were surprised to look at. And that aroused a kind of patriotic feeling, nationalist feeling among Indians of all states, with varying degree, of course, but all states. So, Subhash Chandra Bose, knowing fully well that he will earn the displeasure of the college authorities, he organized a day's fast with some of his classmates. And in the process, Subhash Chandra's mentor, teacher, Beni Madhav Das, who was principal of that school, he was transferred. He was punished. What I mean to say that right from that day, Subhash Chandra Bose also started moving in the line of Kshudiram, not initially, slowly, he became the main figure of uncompromising trend of freedom struggle of India. So many people had been in their freedom struggle everywhere. You see, all legendary people, Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Rajguru, Ram Prasad Bismil. Okay, then in South India, we have seen poets like Subramania Bharati. In AP, Andhra Pradesh, we have seen Sitarama Raju. Then we have seen, don't remember that name. Another person was there. I think Gopala Krishna Iyer of Andhra Pradesh. Then there was Kalappan. Then Kathimulu Amma in Kerala. Then in Karnataka, we know Sadasiv Rao, Hardikar, and others. They were all big names. In Assam, there was Kanaklata Borua, who became a martyr. Then there was a literature, Jyoti Prasad Agarwal. Then in Maharashtra, you had Jyotiba Rao Phule, Jyotiba Rao's wife, Savitribai Phule, earlier Bal Gangadhar Tilak. They were all Father Lala Lajpat Rai in Punjab. All these, they were great freedom fighters. But then, if you analyze, you'll find Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra, Kshudiram, and other revolutionaries of Bengal and Punjab, and some people in Maharashtra, they were the torchbearers of the uncompromising trade of Indian freedom struggle. This is the connection. Now, I will tell one thing. That time, it was known as Swadeshi movement. The movement, Swadeshi movement, they used to boycott foreign goods. They used to boycott foreign clothes and all these things. By the way, I just forgot one thing. In Kshudiram's life, he had a friend, Fani Bhushan. He was wearing one day a Bombay cotton mill, what you call dhoti. Coarse, very, very dirty and all these things. Unpressed. So everybody was making fun of him. When Kshudiram stood and said, why are you making fun of him? He is wearing something which belongs to our country, not the foreigners. That time Kshudiram was 16 years old. In any case, it was Swadeshi movement. And on that, one G. Subramania Iyer, he wrote, I just read it out. Though apparently the Swadeshi movement seeks to improve our industries and is in an attempt to deliver us from the dependence on others, its main objective is to free the national life from all shackles and to rebuild it. This new idealism that has appeared in our national life is not confined to Bengal or to any single province. The Swadeshi movement has intensified a sense of unity amongst all classes, high, middle and low, irrespective of caste and creed. That is actually the thing. So everybody was roused at that time, and that time to drive away the foreign rulers, imperialist rulers from the country was the mark of patriotism. That was the mark of, at that time, nationalism was growing when Kshudiram was a young man, and then nationalist feeling tried to take a firm root during the time Subhash Chandra was maturing. And you know Netaji's life. I don't want to go into this. We will have other occasions to discuss. But Kshudiram, Subhash Chandra I think somebody was criticizing that Kshudiram had no maturity. He's not expected to have that maturity. He was a very teenager, and at that time, nationalist movement our country was not in ferment in that respect. And because it comes over a period of time, it happened with Subhash Chandra also. He initially started with non-violence movement with Gandhiji. He had a great respect for Gandhiji, joined your Congress. Then Chittaranjan Das, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das had a difference with Congress, Motilal Nehru and Chittaranjan. So they made a separate party, Swadeshi party. Then Netaji joined them, Swarajya party. They joined him. Slowly Netaji built his life. And he had a great admiration for those who were upholding the uncompromising revolutionary line, wherever they may be, whether in South India, whether it is North India, whether it is Bengal, whether in any Assam, anywhere. And you know that when he was in Congress, he tried his level best to promote leftist line, that's a revolutionary line in Indian freedom movement. Is quit India, this particular slogan was coined by Netaji Subhash Chandra in 1937. Later on, it was accepted by others. Subhash Chandra wanted a left consolidation in India. All left parties should come together and there should be a revolutionary trend, which ultimately the compromising right-wing leadership of Congress rejected. Subhash Chandra was, virtually he was driven out of Congress by these people. And later it is history. Nowadays, I find in the country that everybody is celebrating 75 years of independence. There will be grandeur, there will be lights, there will be big talks. Everybody will try to narrate their own story of sacrifice and all these things. But unfortunately, all those who will be celebrating this with so much of pomp and grandeur, they all betrayed their own people during the freedom movement. The right-wing people, Hindu Mahasabha, who is the ancestor of Bharatiya Janata Party now, the Congress, everybody betrayed people. And unfortunately, at that time, you pardon me for saying so, the undivided Communist Party also did the same thing. This Hindu Mahasabha and Muslim League formed a coalition government in Bengal and Sindh. They opposed the Quit India movement of 1942. Even CPI also opposed it. Such a big movement, which ultimately forced the 1952 movement and the Indian national struggle. Netaji's Indian INA, when they were marching inside, there was a naval mutiny in Mumbai and all these things. So this is how the perspective of Indian freedom was acted in this country. So Subhash Chandra and Kshudiram, that is how they are linked. That is how Bhagat Singh is linked with Subhash Chandra. That is how Chandrasekhar Azad is linked with Subhash Chandra. Because this is the uncompromising line. What I mean to say that if today we want to do something positive, today if we want to see that our countrymen are rescued, freed from all the hardship, wretchedness and other things, then we have to move in continuation of this revolutionary trend of Indian freedom struggle. That should be our task. That's why I think we have all assembled on one platform, that is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's 125th birthday anniversary celebration committee, because we all feel that something has to be done, and Netaji's heritage, Netaji's tradition has to be taken forward. Many people do not know what Netaji had said. Many people they're not aware, because our history of our national movement is written in different language. Now it is being further diluted and all these things. So, sorry, every time a telephone comes and gets disconnected. But I forgot. Just in any case, we have to take his tradition forward. We have to understand what these revolutionaries stood for. They did not stand for any romanticism. I'll tell you one particular, the notorious police inspector, Charles Taggart, he wrote once, the terrorists today, that means the revolutionaries, the terrorists, he used a singular noun, the terrorist today has boldly announced his objective, the overthrow of the existing government by a policy of assassination, leading eventually to armed rebellion. That is the main thing. Armed rebellion. Target Taggart float. And Bhagat Singh, somebody says that they were killing, they were indulging in individual assassination. Correct. But they were killing individual assassination. If you go into deep into the things, yes, it's not correct. But they killed with a different understanding, different motive. To them, a British officer used to represent cruelty. So Bhagat Singh wrote, after he attempt on the life of, Sanders, John Sanders, who was the assistant police commissioner and who was responsible for Lala Lajpat Rai's death. He wrote, "We are sorry for the death of a man, but in this, man has died the representative of an institution which is so cruel, so lowly, and so unjust that it must be abolished. In this man died an agent of the British authorities in India, the most tyrannical of governments of the world. We are sorry for shedding blood of a human being, but bloodshed at the altar of revolution that will put an end to exploitation of man by man. This was Bhagat Singh's words. So I think I've taken a lot of time because I didn't hear my previous learned speakers. I could not educate myself from there. I will see it later. But I think the purpose today is to carry forward, again I reiterate, carry forward the legacy of Netaji Subhash Chandra and Kshudiram, Bhagat Singh. So that was the right line. That was the correct line. That was actually, if you see the documents of British government, you will find this British government left India because of these revolutionaries, because of Netaji's INA and all. In their secret report, it is available. That is why we need to cultivate Netaji's life, cultivate Kshudiram's life, cultivate Bhagat Singh's life, cultivate all other freedom fighters of all provinces meticulously. We must read Subramania Bharati's poems, Jyoti Prasad Agarwal's works, and all these things, so that we know what the people of India wanted, what kind of flowers bloomed in those days, what kind of character emerged in those days, and how we should learn from their life and struggle to equip ourselves to face today's struggle, to take part in today's struggle actively. With our intellect, we claim that we are educated people. Our president gave a big introduction. You see, Rabindranath Tagore once said that mere education, mere academic qualification means nothing if you don't have culture. What is culture? Culture is your character. Culture is your conduct. And how can the culture be built up? I mean, acquired only by refining your thoughts, your way of understanding, your outlook, your approach. That is to be defined in tune with the necessity of the social necessity of the time. Then only you can claim that you are an educated person. Otherwise, as many people have said, Rabindranath also said once, mere pedantry has nothing to do. Pedantry and culture are two different things. That's why I am not bothered how much education we have. I have to prove that I am an educated man. I have to prove that I am privileged compared to others because I got so much of education. So education must enlighten me, and the very purpose of education is to become a full man in what the name. Otherwise, there is no point. That's why Subhash Chandra Bose quit his ICS and joined revolutionary movement. C.R. Das said that education can wait, but Swaraj cannot. That is, your social obligation is much more than any other things. That kind of saying, we must imbibe the spirit of that and must inculcate that in our mind so that we prepare ourselves, we equip ourselves to face the situation of the country today, unitedly, consciously, and with all our might. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David, for the detailed analysis of the contributions of Kshudiram, his life, his struggle. Before we end, I would not like to give a long speech, as it is called the presidential address. Only I would like to point out that whenever we remember somebody, whenever we recall the life struggle of somebody, that must have a purpose. And the purpose should not be to know the details of certain events so that we can tell others, we can give talks in programs. No, that's not the purpose. The purpose is actually that we'd like to emulate their life struggle in our lives. But now the situations are different. The situation that Kshudiram faced, the situation that Netaji faced is not the situation that is prevailing today. But if we take the lesson from their life, what we learn is that whatever is the situation you are in, wherever there is some injustice, wherever there is some exploitation of man by man, wherever there is incorrect things happening, then a person who thinks like Netaji, a person who tries to become like Kshudiram must protest, must be active in changing the society. It is this that we learn from the lives of these great people. Otherwise, simply learning when a particular person was born, what he did, when he died, are only pieces of information. Unless that rouses us, unless that makes us pledge to lead a similar life, a struggling life, unless that propels us to take the society into the path of progress, and for that be prepared to embark on any struggle that may be necessary. Unless we take that pledge, this kind of programs will be futile. So I request the audience to ponder over this issue seriously, as the three speakers have in detail discussed about the life struggle of Kshudiram and Netaji. I would request the audience to learn from that. And the learning is only then when we apply that to our lives. With that, I will now request Mania Tyagi to sing the concluding song of this program. Mania Tyagi.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. First of all, sorry for the background noise. Actually, I am not at home right now. I'm stuck. So, yes, I'm starting. Just a second. कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की, तू कौम पे लुटाए जा, कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा। तू शेर हिंद आगे बढ़, मरने से तू कभी न डर, उड़ा के दुश्मनों का सर, जो शे वतन बढ़ाए जा, कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की, तू कौम पे लुटाए जा, कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा। चलो दिली पुकार के, गमे निशा संभाल के, लाल किले पे गाड़ के, लहराए जा, कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की, तू कौम पे लुटाए जा, कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा। थैंक यू।
Thank you. With that, our program today comes to a close, and I will now announce the closure of this program. Thank you all for joining. Thank you. The committee will keep on organizing programs all through the year. Please be with us.